Good morning, everyone. First of all, before I start doing introductions and all the nice bits, we best elect a chair, I suppose. Do we have any nominations for chair?
I nominate you, I'm afraid.
Yes, I second that.
Thank you both for that.
In the right place.
Thank you very much. In that case, I'm very happy to accept your nomination of chair for the meeting. So, we'll make a start. If I can find my list. Where are we? Bear with me. Do we have any apologies for absence? Thank you. It's normally me turning off the microphone for the chair that's already sat here, so there you go. And do we have any declarations of interest? We'll say the silence, there's no declarations. So then we'll do some introductions. My name is Councillor Craig Monks of Bedminster Ward, chairing this meeting, and to my left we have...
Councillor Val Pothecary, Gillingham Ward.
Thank you. And to my right...
Councillor David Morgan from representing Wimborne.
Thank you. And then in front of me we have a bench of highly dedicated officers and professionals, and I'd love you to introduce yourselves to the committee.
Catherine Miller, Senior Licensing Officer and Report Author.
Thank you. And I'd welcome you both to introduce yourself and police officers that we have here as well. So, and just to let you know, as I've just demonstrated at the start of the meeting, you need to remember to turn the microphone on and off. So I'm going to turn mine off and then ask you to introduce yourselves, please.
Darshini Jayasudhan.
Naga Rajesh, I'm a licensing agent. I'm representing my client. She's a DPS for these premises.
Thank you. And officers?
Good morning, Chair. My name's Gareth Gosling. I'm a sergeant with Dorset Police, and I'm joined today by Kirsty Gatehouse, who's the licensing officer for Weymouth.
Thank you very much, and a good example of how to use the microphone system, much better than I showed you this morning. So we'll move into the agenda. With the agreement of my colleagues and officers, I'd like to switch the agenda items because the other hearing we have, those representatives aren't here yet, so it makes sense that as soon as you're here, we'll make best use of your time. So yeah, with that in mind, I'm going to move to item 5, which is application for a variation of a premises licence for Eats and Drinks of Weymouth. So I'd like to first ask the officer to give us the report.
Thank you, Chair. This is a hearing to consider a variation application to the premises licence known as Eats and Drinks in Weymouth. The Licence Act sets out Section 4 that the authority must carry out its functions with a view to promoting the licensing objectives. These are the prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, protection of children from harm and public safety. The application is to vary 2 conditions which are on the current licence, and these are, under condition number 2, it currently states no beers, ciders or lagers of 5.5 alcohol by volume or above shall be sold at the premises. And the proposal is beers, ciders or lagers of 5.5 ABV or above shall not be sold as single at the premises, minimum of 4 in a single transaction. And the second condition is condition number 6, and that currently states that no miniature bottles of spirits of 20 centilitres or below should be sold from the premises, and it is proposed that no miniature bottles of spirits of less than 20 centilitres shall be sold from the premises. The application can be found at Appendix 1 and the current licence can be found at Appendix 2. The premises licence for Eats and Drinks was reviewed by Dorset Police in August 2024 under the licensing objective of prevention of crime and disorder, as with evidence that the premises were associated with the handling of stolen goods and failing to promote the licensing objectives by offering alcohol to those of the most vulnerable in our communities, namely street homeless. As a result of this review, members added 2 conditions mentioned above, along with a number of other ones, and these are detailed at 2.5 of the report. Dorset Police have objected to the application, stating that while demand on police resources has reduced since the review, the additional conditions were added, and it is a concern that the premises continues to be the subject of intelligence received from members of the public. To permit this full variation would undermine both a decision made by the licensing subcommittee and the promotion of the licensing objectives. Dorset Police objection can be found at Appendix 3. There were no other representations received from any of the responsible authorities. There has also been supplementary information supplied from both the applicant's agent and Dorset Police, and this information has been distributed to members, the applicant's agents, Dorset Police, and also has been published on the Dorset Council website. Section 7 of the report sets out the options that are available to the subcommittee after they have considered all the information contained in the report, the written representations, and anything that is said at the hearing. The options that the subcommittee may take are modify the conditions of the licence or reject the application whole or part. Finally, I would want to draw your attention to the part of the paragraph 9.44 from the guidance as quoted in paragraph 6.4 of the report. It is imperative that the authority ensures that the factors from which the basis of its determination are limited to consideration of the promotion of the objectives and nothing outside those parameters. The licensing authority is expected to come to its determination based on an assessment of the evidence on both the risks and benefits, either for or against making the determination. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Next, I would like to ask yourself, sir, to outline your position. And I'm happy for you, stand by. So I was going to ask yourself to outline your position, and just to say that I obviously have a representative here representing you, but if you were to wish to speak as well, that's absolutely fine. But before you do, I'd like to invite you to ask any questions of the officer's report, should you wish to do so, or at a later stage, if you wanted to, you can ask questions then.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any questions at the moment, no.
In which case, would you like to outline, or the police? Do you have any questions?
No questions, Chair. Thank you.
I thought that was the case. So in which case, we'd love to hear you outline your case for the variation today, please.
Thank you, Chair. Eats and Drinks is a family business, Chair, running more than 25 years by my client. The premises has a long history, but this family is running the business for the last 25 years in the same location. She is the DPS for the premises. She manages all staff and alcohol-related matters, staff training, record keeping, everything she looks after since last July. Including my client here, there are 5 staff members managing this premises. Every single one of them have personal license. All of them are personal license holders working in this premises at the moment. The current premises license has a number of conditions to promote the licensing objectives. We strictly follow every single one of them. If I briefly mention the main conditions, we have CCTV covering all areas and the records kept for 31 days, and it can be accessed by any authorities, staff members, always available to show the recordings, and police have, and the community officers have checked our recordings few times in the last few months. We strictly follow Challenge 25. Refusal logs, incident logs always maintained and weekly checked by my client here. Staff are fully trained, all documented, and all of those training records are available in the premises for inspection at any time. Also, we have conditions, the cans and bottles of beer, smaller ones, anything less than 500, we can sell only minimum of 4. So that's what we've been doing all along, just minimum of 4 cans of, we can't sell 1, 2, or 3, it's just 4 in a single transaction. And no alcohol with a ABV 5.5 or above, and no spirits 20 cl or below. These are the main conditions, and then we have a number of other conditions. Most of these we've been following all the time, but it's been formalized since August last year. We are strictly following all these conditions and measures, and it's strictly monitored by the DPS on a regular basis. We still get all these regular so-called street drinkers or problem makers. They do come to our stores, but they don't always want the stronger alcohol, but we never sell them. We always refuse the sale. And they listen to us and they go back, because my clients, they know these individuals very well. They've been there for a very long time running this business. Most of them, yes, they might be homeless, but most of the time they're not nasty people. When they politely ask, they walk away. You can see from the documentations I provide, the supporting supplementary evidence, that we maintain a refusal log. There are lots of refusals carried out, not only for no IDs, but we don't serve to people seems to be problem people. If it's a drunk, we don't serve them, full stop. But if the people seem to be vulnerable people, we don't serve them. All of them were recorded. It is in our refusal records. Our staff are fully trained, and they constantly reminded. My client here, DPS, she's in the premises almost every single day, most of the time. Chair, we fully respect the council and the authorities. We are not trying to undermine the licensing objectives. No, we don't want to jeopardize our livelihood. Please don't treat us like a problem premises. This is not a pub or club. It's a convenience store. Most of our products lines are groceries. Alcohol is a small part of the shop. Through this application, Chair, we are asking to make 2 small changes to our conditions. As the licensing officer outlined, one of the conditions is condition number 2. It currently says that no beer, cider, or lager with a strength of 5.5 or above cannot be sold from this premises. I understand why the condition is there. It's trying to reach the alcohol to reach the vulnerable people. We understand that. What we are asking, instead of stopping this alcohol completely, we like to have this condition, 5.5 or above, with a minimum of 4 cans. So these vulnerable people, they're not going to buy 4 cans in a single transaction, Chair. So most of the time they want to buy 1. In some cases, they want to buy 2. We're not going to sell anything less than 4 in any way, shape, or form from this premises, any alcohol below 500. We don't do that. So this is not the place for these vulnerable people to buy the alcohol. And it's more importantly, Chair, none of the premises in this area has this condition. None of the premises. I have provided a map. I'll go through that a little bit more detail in a minute. Even the premises right in front of us, they have a condition, 5.5 or above. They have to sell minimum of 2. We are not even asking that. We're just asking we need minimum of 4. Also, Chair, I just want to stress, we are not asking this because somebody else got it, that's why we want that. We are not asking that. What we are saying is imposing this condition just on a single premises, it's not going to promote the licensing objective, or providing, allowing us to sell this with a 4-can condition. It's not going to undermine the licensing objectives, because we are not trying to set a precedence there. We are not even asking a level playing ground. We are even asking less than what is already exist in the area, Chair. So the reason is that no one has these conditions, even in the shop in front of us. This is not undermining the objectives, because it's already available in the area. And we understand the area has a PSPO, the Public Space Protection Order. So the people who buy the alcohol, they don't buy in bulk, because if they do, they will risking to lose all of them in one go. So they always want a quick one can hiding in the jacket, or maybe two. So because we're going to be asking to sell minimum of 4, we are not going to risk that PSPO in the area, Chair. So we think this condition is unnecessarily restricting someone's livelihood, Chair. So that is why we are requesting this. And also, the second condition we like to change is the no miniature bottles of spirits with 20 cl or less will be sold from the premises. We like to change this, anything below 20 cl. We don't want to sell anything below 20 cl miniature bottles. We're just asking just that 20 cl only. Again, I just want to stress, no premises in this area has these restrictions. None of the premises in this area has this 20 cl restriction, only this one, Chair. My client wants to stress this. We are not asking these conditions to increase our alcohol sale. No. Even if you grant this, it's not going to make any big difference to our alcohol sales share. The main, and my client was talking to me about this in much more detail. The alcohol sale doesn't bring enough profit margins. It's a very small margin in alcohol sale. The reason we are asking this change, the premises is there for a very long time. We have clients, decade-old clients. They do big family shoppings. There are lots of clients buy these alcohol as part of their shopping. There are lots of clients, they do. For several reasons. My client can explain that if needed in more detail. And these people are gradually walking away from these premises. So the premises in a very bad situation, and they are losing the business week by week, and they are seeing that, and they are in a trouble. So that is why we are requesting it. The public is not going to go to 2 different premises to buy their shopping when they can buy all of them in a one shop. So they are losing, they are regular, good customers. They had it for 10, 15 years. They are gradually going away, and people are openly expressing their frustration. We want to do that, but these are the reasons we couldn't. So this is a situation my client in. It's a small business. They are asking you a help. So they're trying to protect their family business, 25-year-old business. So when they had this problem, they are coming to the local council just to reconsider this and allow the business to survive. Chair, we fully understand that the financial issue is not a matter you will consider under Licensing Act 2003. We fully understand that. However, as a council, you have a duty to protect and support a local business. Imposing condition on a single premises unfairly without any direct evidence is also something the committee cannot do under the Licensing Act 2003. With great respect, Chair. My client's premises has been singled out in the whole area. You can see from the information I have provided. This is the only premises has number of restrictions, which none of the other premises in the area have. What are we asking is not even a level playing ground, rather is still a stricter conditions compared to all other licensed venues in the area. You have no evidence against my client in front of you to single out her and target this premises by refusing this application, Chair. Also, Chair, I totally understand authorities should look for the police as a main source of advice on crime and disorder. Be aware of that. But at the same time, Chair, with great respect, I would like to remind the committee that the same Section 182 of the Home Office guidance clearly says, I think it's 9.43, the authority's determination should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and the proportionate to what is intended to achieve. So I just want to stress that, Chair, whatever you are imposing on the premises has to be proportionate. So I would argue There's no evidence provided against this application, direct evidence. These conditions are not appropriate. What we are asking is less than what is already available in this area. So what are we going to achieve by just restricting one premises without any direct evidence? What we are asking is not undermining the licensing objectives. Therefore, these conditions are not proportionate, and therefore refusing this application cannot be justified here. Chair, the council must understand and realize the struggle the small business have these days. They have lots of pressure in multiple directions. They are under enormous pressure these days, Chair. I provided some of the findings from different charities across the country. There are numerous charities constantly stressing the mental health states and the stress the small business are going through. You probably know a lot more than I do in your local area. Lots of businesses are closing it down because they couldn't handle the financial burden and the legislative burdens on them. This is a coastal town, and most of the business heavily depend on seasonal trade, Chair. So they float during the other months, just the trade they gain in short period of the time in a year. So under these circumstances, treating my client unfairly, imposing conditions without any direct evidence, it's wrong, and it cannot be done under the Licensing Act 2003, Chair. Again, with great respect to authorities, the police officer stating that the number of calls from the area have been reduced for the last few months or a period. Chair, again, with greater respect, there are no clear evidence provided in front of you today to support the claim. And there are multiple reasons for the reductions of the number of calls. You can't directly link everything to my client's shop, Chair. The Home Office crime statistics already shows that crime in this area has increased by 1% in the last September to November compared to the previous year. And the stop and share search has increased by 21% for the same postcode. So all I'm saying is there are multiple factors can involve in that. You cannot link everything directly to the one premises. There are lots of license venues, there are lots of other issues. The police resources are used in different ways. So there are so many factors here. If I quickly take you to the document, the map I have provided, I just want to briefly mention to you. I have marked the location of eats and drinks and all other licensed premises surrounding that. There's only 2 premises has that super strength condition. The one in right front of the shop and the one on the close to the seafront. These are the only 2 premises has the 5.5 conditions, but they cannot sell these cans as single. But they don't have any 20 CL restrictions or any miniature restrictions. So in this area, this is available. But what we are saying is we're going to sell the 5.5 minimum of 4, and we don't want to sell other miniatures apart from just the 20 CL. So what we are asking is less than what's already available. Also, Chair, I just wanted to point out the Dorset Council's, the licensing policies clearly states, this is 6.46, the policy number. The council recognized that the only conditions that should be imposed on a license are those which are appropriate and proportionate to promote the licensing objectives. It also says on 6.49, the council will never attach any set of conditions as a matter of routine and would not expect the applicant to do so either. So what we are saying is these conditions are just on our premises, singling out from all other licensed venues. Chair, through this application, we are not trying to undermine any licensing objectives. Just want to stress that. We are not trying to jeopardize any status quo. We are asking less than what is already available in the area. We have taken all the recommendations from the authorities in the past without challenging anything. We are up to date with our all complex matrix of these conditions on our license. We had few inspections in the past few months from the community officers, and a couple of other, I don't know which exact department came in. Police came and checked our CCTV recordings for several reasons for their information gathering. So we are cooperative with everybody, and we are following all the license conditions fully. We have rigorous management system in place. All our staff are fully trained and they are personal license holders. We are now asking not to single out this premises, and we have all the measures in place. The premises is struggling to float, Chair. That is why we came to the council, just to give us a lifeline so the family business can survive. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for your submission. Would you like to add anything at all, or are you quite happy? You don't need to. It's up to you.
Quite happy, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. In which case, I'd like to turn to my colleagues, officers, or Dorset Police, if anybody has any questions. We'll start with Catherine.
Just a couple of points. Some of the premises that have been referred to, obviously as members know, each application is on its own merits. However, I think it's the Weymouth service station you've got on your list is actually called Asda Express. And it's recently undergone a variation. It has got quite a number of conditions on relating to no miniature bottles of 20 centilitre or below to be sold from the premises, no single cans or glass bottles of beer, cider or lager, or alcohol pops to be sold, with the exception of those in cans or bottles of 500 ml. So there's quite a few on there that the police have requested. The other ones on the list are old licences that came in when the Licensing Act came into force in 2005. And obviously, if they was to probably vary or change, then I suspect the police would probably add similar conditions onto those premises at the moment.
Thank you. And Dorset Police, do you have any questions?
Yes, I'm grateful to Ms Miller for bringing that up, because I think it's imperative that the committee understand. And the question I've got is that do you accept that the Asda service station, as of quite some time ago, I believe, have exactly those conditions in relation to the 200 ml bottles of spirits and lower? Do you accept that they are, in fact, a premises that is very nearby to Eats and Drinks?
Just to answer that, Chair, we were referring to the premises right in front of us, but park convenience store. But the Asda, I just wanted to say that do they have the 5.5 4 cans, or that they completely stop 5.5, or what sort of restrictions for 5.5 ABV?
Yeah, I think every single licensed premises is different. The reason I've asked that, and I appreciate, I can see it. Yeah.
Opportunity to ask questions. So I think if members have got questions, either way they can ask them. And if you want to make that point later, that's fine. But this is not a to and fro between parties. It's an opportunity for questions and response. If you have further supplementary questions, Chair or members, that's fine. But thank you, Chair.
Okay, we'll leave that point aside for now, and we'll achieve some clarity later, hopefully. I visited with my colleague not last year, the year before. We discussed some of the concerns that you had, certainly around those that are street homeless at the time, coming into the premises and causing issues, and we tried to provide some advice around removing the availability of those products. Do you remember that meeting?
Yes, I do, officer.
Okay. The advice that we gave at the time was to try and limit the high-strength alcohol that was available. Is that a correct recollection as far as you're concerned of that meeting? And if not, what was it?
So yes, sir, you did advise us to try and remove it from the main shelf and to leave it somewhere where they can't see and try selling it out. And I did agree to try that. But when you came back asking us the feedback of how it has gone, and you did see, officer, that I have put those cans back on the shelf by when you returned back, and I did explain that we did definitely try what, as an officer, community officer, that you advised us for a couple of weeks, but clearly it didn't work well. So I had to place it back on the shelf for them to sort of reach. And it has been very difficult. Our counter, behind our counter, we have a very limited space. So to consume all the lagers behind, it's sort of like a hazard. We trip on those things as well. And I had to sort of look out for us. So for the various reasons, I had to place them back in the shelf, and I did explain to you, officer, but we did try.
Sorry, Chair, can I add to that? Yes, we had this conversation in the last meeting as well. What I gathered from my client, yes, they made some changes, but what they did from that point onwards, they refused the alcohol sale for any known, because they knew almost all of the rough sleepers and the problem people. They refused the alcohol sale for everybody, and they've been doing that till now. On our refusal records, you can see they stopped serving tobacco and alcohol products to those people completely. So, and they are still coming. They don't always buy super strength, Chair. And you've probably seen from your experience, these people sometimes hold like a standard beer cans in their hands. But they still come to the shop, but we don't serve them full stop. And all the staff are fully trained on that matter. And they are listening to us and they are walking away. It's on our record. So just to answer the police questions, yes, we had the advice, we had the conversation, we changed the way we operate for a very long time, but we don't serve them and we don't have any problem.
Thank you. One more, yeah, because my slight fear is you'll have an opportunity to put your case across, but I felt like we're in the middle of a bit of a police interview and a sort of process. So one more question would be great, and then I'll allow you to put your case. Thank you.
It's just one further question in relation to a point that was raised. And it was raised around treating the premises differently to others. Do you accept that, in fact, in that area of licensed premises, it's only eats and drinks that have recently been subject of an application for review?
Thank you for the question, officer. We accept the application was reviewed last August for a couple of allegations in June last year, Chair. But with great respect, what we don't accept, we denied all the allegations at that time. There was a couple of allegations. The first one was we were accused of serving to drunk and we didn't. And
thank you, Chair. The question was not about the last hearing. That hearing has been and gone. Your client had an opportunity to appeal the decision that was taken. So this is not an opportunity to undermine the decision of the last subcommittee, particularly given that your client didn't appeal that hearing. Sergeant Gosling's question, if I can put it in a slightly different way, was are you aware of any other local premises in the area that have had a review application? And that was a straightforward question. If you could keep your answer to that, I think that would help the subcommittee. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, yes, we are aware, like some reviews are going on. But yes, our license was reviewed last time. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So I think is your answer to Sergeant Gosden's question that you believe that other premises in the area are subject to applications to have their premises licence reviewed? Because that was what I'd understood from your answer, that you were aware there were other reviews taking place. So we just need to be clear. Do you believe that there are other reviews of licensed premises taking place in the area or have done in the recent past?
But there are some reviews in the area anyway, which I have seen from the records.
Yeah, I'm going to make a comment on this particular point, but before I do, I will lean towards Catherine, who's far better at explaining this than me.
For reviews of on-off licences, we haven't had any in the recent past, apart from Eats and Drinks, off the top of my head.
Thank you. I'm just going to make a comment on this particular point, and happy for colleagues to jump in as well, and I may well have some questions. And then I will come back to the Sergeant, because I think he does have something to say on this particular point. But maybe if it might help the committee just to remind us that we're here listening to this variation on this property, and we need to make a decision on the relevant legislation around enhancing this application. So whilst from an intelligence perspective or personal views on other businesses are relevant to you, I'd perhaps suggest that we try and sort of keep to the application that we're here today. Otherwise we could turn into a kind of, there's a off license down the road and that place also is, you know, I just want to try and keep it on to you rather than other licenses that aren't here today. But this colleagues would want to add anything to that, I'd like to go back to the Sergeant. Is that
I'd agree with you.
Thank you.
Is that it? If I could just ask a very simple question, do I gather that one of your reasons for wanting the amendment, especially the First Amendment, is the fact that people are more likely to buy the drink singly rather than have to buy a pack of 4. And that's the reason people aren't coming in to buy the drink, because they can't buy a single can. They've got to buy 4. And therefore, that's why your business is suffering. Do I understand that as to be the way? Because you were talking about the financial impact that it had. And because people, if they have to buy a pack of 4, will obviously go elsewhere so they can buy the single pack. I'm just understanding what the variation is that we're trying to get on the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. It's not exactly, with great respect, I will briefly explain what we are asking, and my client will explain the reason why they're asking. The first amendment we are asking for we have a condition says, Councillor, we can't sell strong beers, anything with 5.5 ABV or above. Sorry for my throat. So we can't, at the moment, we can't sell them, full stop. So that's a condition we have. So what we're asking is, because we have lots of regular good customers who needs those products, and we are losing them because they do buy bigger grocery shopping. So because they can't buy this from our shop, they're just completely walking away from our premises and going to a different shop. Because of that, we are losing the business. So what we are saying is, please let us to sell 5.5, but we are not going to sell as a single. We will sell minimum of 4. So the usual problem makers, they don't buy 4 cans in one transaction, which is very expensive. And even if they buy, Somehow they spend the money and buy. They can't hide the 4 cans in their jacket and get away from the police on their PSPO. So only the people will end up buying that 4 packs is the good customers, regular customers who buy the alcohol and take home. So we are not going to undermine the licensing objectives by making this change, but we can survive, we can keep the business floating. That's something for my client to explain in a little bit more detail. If I may, Councillor, if I quickly add, when I mention the other premises, I'm not trying to, sorry if I didn't explain it properly, I'm not trying to compare other premises to us. The reason I bring the other premises in this presentation is just to show what is available in the area, just to demonstrate by making this application, we are not going to set a precedence. No, we're not going to undermine the licensing objectives. So that is the reason I compare it. Because I'm not asking because they got this, we want that. Because every application, I understand, is on its own merits, and that's just for these premises and about the premises. If I let my client to explain why she put this application on her business point of view.
So I'm really happy you asked that question, so I can explain from my perspective or my customer's view what we are losing at the moment. The vulnerables or the homeless, they always come with small changes, and they come for single cans. They never come for a whole lot of shopping. If I may say so, they'll probably buy a pie or a sausage roll and a single can. But there are other regular customers also, very, very known customers for a very long time, who come for their daily purchase. Like they like a certain lager, they like a certain strength beer, but they are not the vulnerable ones that what we are discussing about. There are regular customers who come for their strength beers and for their other grocery shoppings, their chilled, their breads, their eggs. So they will probably buy a 3 or 4 bags of goods from us and then leave the premises. And I haven't been seeing them for a very long time. So I have been missing my customers. Although they come, they say hello. And when they do come in, they buy a few things. But I understand they don't have their certain product in our shop anymore. And rather than choosing to go to 2-3 different shops, they prefer to go to one place where they can sort of make their whole purchase. And some of them, they are very elderly customers. So they do not like to walk to more or few more places. Although I have offered, like, I'm quite happy to bring or drop it at your home. They like to come and see us, or they just like to go to one particular shop and make all their groceries and their strength beers and walk off. So I, as a premises, I'm missing all those good customers that I'm not seeing them anymore. 2, there's no footfall. And it's almost like if you have a child, you have them with you for a very long time, the business is almost like that. We've had that for a very long time, and we have built a very good relationship with the customers. They come to share their stories. Of course, I do share mine as well. So the love and not seeing them, so I'm probably missing them a lot, not seeing them. Thank you, Officer.
Thank you. Have you researched your customers and asked them that if you were able to sell a 4-pack of something, would they resume purchasing from you as they used to?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. Before we launched this application, when my client, she approached me early December, about this, the last few months, we had a massive impact to the business. And I talked to my regular customers why we are not seeing them, and she passionately explained the reasons. First thing she told me, she talked to the people and why they are not coming, and they expressed the details. Some of them don't want to say, and this is what, because she told me that those customers usually buy. Some of them buy a case, Chair. Believe it or not, they drop it in their house. That's what she told me. They buy a case, even the 20 CL. She said there are few elderly customers, just to limit their spirit consumption, they buy the 20 CL bottle in a case. They don't even open the case. They use that for a couple of months because they don't want to buy a big bottle because they end up consuming too much. So they take the 20 CL bottle so they can limit it. So that is how they manage their alcohol consumptions. So they do their shopping, and herself or her staff drop the shopping to their house, and they are not coming anymore. So they was more than happy, because most of them do big purchases because they are regular 10 years, 15 years old customers. They are more than happy to buy 4 cans, even more than that. But they need the products in the shop for them to come. Yes, Councillor.
So just to confirm, the request you've made for both of these points is based on what your customers have told you and assurances that you've been given.
Yes, Councillor, exactly.
Thank you. So I think that concludes the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant from any members in the chamber, but unless anyone frantically waves at me, I'll make that assumption. In which case, I'd like to move over to the good sergeant to present his case, and then allow the officer and my colleagues to ask any questions they might have.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies, just for those that don't know me, I've been working with the alcohol licensing team for around 7 years now. Time has flown, but during that time, we've dealt with a huge range of different premises, and it's an absolute commitment of mine to make sure that all licensed premises promote all 4 licensing objectives consistently. I see that having a premises license and being a license holder is a privilege, and one which requires you to uphold those objectives to the benefit of the whole community. And it's really important that I emphasise the whole community, because with our partners, the police have the responsibility to ensure that antisocial behaviour and crime throughout our communities is managed and reduced wherever there is an opportunity to do so. And if you like, I am the officer charged with the responsibility to address any issues that are highlighted and that are associated with licensed premises. I won't go into it in any detail because you're aware from the pack that there was an application for review that took place sort of mid last year as a result of some concerns. And in the interest of treating each premises upon its own merit, the committee made the decision to apply conditions to that licence, conditions that we will support and have done. You've also heard today about efforts in the area to increase the presence of police officers, uniformed police officers, who will proactively deal with any issues and concerns as well when they're highlighted. Those conditions that were imposed upon the licence were intended to assist the licence holder to promote the licensing objectives. It is our experience, and from what you've read from our pack, if you've had the opportunity to do so, to read our brief supplementary, you will note as well that there is a local sergeant who has provided me with some words to support what it is that we're doing, and who has tried to explain that the area has benefited from the changes that have been imposed to this premises licence. There are other premises in that area, we know that. However, as was highlighted earlier and explained, that no others have been subject to a review. Some do have less conditions, but in the interest of treating each one on its merits, that's perfectly applicable and is reflected in communities throughout the county. Does that mean that those without conditions are, free to do as they wish? No, they don't. You'll find that many don't sell those products. Some will, but they will do so responsibly, and they'll do so, most importantly, in support and promotion of the licensing objectives. I'm really keen for us to not undermine the conditions that have been imposed by the committee in 2024. I think it's important that we see the true effect of those conditions being in place. So we need to see consistency over 12 months or more, and to help us to do the work that we're doing by tackling the street drinking that takes place in Weymouth town centre, and that does cause concern to people of all ages. We have seen that there are refusals, and I'm grateful that refusals take place. But that's not something that I would expect to be impressed by. That is best practice, and it's what I see from the vast majority of licensed premises, and I'm really pleased that this premises is now on board and doing that as well. So we have seen those improvements take place with what I believe to be really effective conditions to help us to drive down the street drinking that does blight our communities, in particular those that are seaside communities during the peak season, when that impact is felt the most, not only by residents but visitors as well to our seaside resorts. I don't think there's anything else I need to add now. However, of course, I'm willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Sergeant. I'd move to our officer first. Do you have any questions or anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Chair.
In which case, I'd like to give you the opportunity to ask any questions you might have of the officer, or rather his report.
No, Chair. Thank you.
Colleagues, do either of you have any questions? Sort of.
Sorry. The officer was saying that my understanding of what you were saying is that it's too soon to do a review of the agreed conditions from last August, that you feel a year might be a better length of time to really see the benefits from your point of view.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to clarify that point. Yes, I think we need to see a consistent improvement. We do not, and I'm not going to go back to it in any detail, but we do not review licensed premises easily. It's a great deal of work on our part, and we are conscious of the demand it places upon the licensing authority and all parties involved with the review. We don't take that step lightly. However, that's not to say that we will see that improvement. It is likely that we will see that improvement, but we need to see it in a sustained fashion over around 12 months. Unless we can see some material changes with the premises, it wouldn't be fair for us to forever hold that action or those concerns over the premises. Of course it wouldn't be. But I think to apply for, I can't remember the exact dates, but at the point of application for this change to the conditions, it's clear that that's intended to try and remove some of the measures that were put in place by that subcommittee. And I think it's too soon to do that.
I was going to ask a question, but actually as part of your previous answer, you kind of answered my question as well, so I won't take any more of your time. I might ask my question after all. Well, in part, I think you probably have answered it, and actually it was around the time frame of how you'd like to see an improvement. The applicant has obviously made a very detailed representation and referred to the 4 key things that we need to think about when we make these considerations around prevention of crime and disorder, etc. I won't obviously tell you what they are because you know full well what they are. In your submissions, and I appreciate it might be delicate, so you can try and form an answer as best as you can. But within the submissions, you've referenced intelligence and more recent information since the variation, which we won't go over, was applied for, obviously leans towards your report and your way of thinking. Are you able to elaborate on what the here and now looks like to obviously help myself and colleagues understand, indeed, ultimately, how your concerns are that the core objectives that we need to consider wouldn't be met?
Okay, yeah, so you're talking about the reference to intelligence that reflects the fact that crime and disorder is still an issue. It is. You will be aware that, or you may not be aware, but Eats and Drinks is located in a prime location between the railway station and the seafront. So the vast majority of people that exit or return to the train station from the beach would often pass the premises. And in that area, we do, unfortunately, it is a bit of a magnet for those that are intent on causing problems. So we are working through, we do get intelligence of crime and disorder, some of it associated to alcohol, some of it not. But we do see that tackling the true source of alcohol-related antisocial behaviour, and that we know is through, if you like, good value / cheap alcohol that's strong and available in small quantities is an issue. Our experience tells us that street homeless and those that are dependent will often consume from the 20 cl bottles and smaller. And that is one of the key things that we are looking to address. Hence why, whilst every application is assessed on its own merit, the most recent, or one of the most recent applications for a premises licence for the Asda service station has included conditions which they completely accepted were relevant to that area. So this is a partnership, and we rely on our vendors to do so, to deliver licensable activity, including the sale by retail of alcohol, in a responsible manner. And we believe that doing it this way is having a positive impact on the community, and that removing that and returning back to where we were before will simply take us back to where we were pre-August 2024. That's the concern that we have.
So I think my follow-up question, although I'm going to just double check, I'll ask it, then you tell me if I'm wrong. So my follow-up question to that would be, in terms of the intelligence that you in part seek to rely on, is that intelligence more generic to the location because it's between the train station and the beach? And I do know where you are. Or is that intelligence for this venue in particular? Because obviously, you can see where I'm going with this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to disappoint you, because we do get intelligence, as you can imagine. Dorset Police gets more intelligence that I can often cope with, if I'm honest. There is intelligence received around the premises and the area, but it's not substantiated at this time, but it's present and something that will be in constant development. Sometimes it amounts to nothing, sometimes it does. So there is always that ongoing intelligence picture.
Thank you. So before we move to summing up, I know there's been quite a few questions actually on that point, so I just want to give all parties an opportunity to ask any further questions on that. Otherwise, we'll move to summing up, if that's okay. One quick.
Just a quick question to Sergeant. I respect what police do in this area. It's not an easy task. And if I remember correctly, I heard the officer said when it's come to the super strength, they're trying to reduce the small sale of super strength, small quantity of the super strength. So I'm asking the officer, are you still concerned if you sell the super strength in a pack of 4, which is a lot more stricter than the current availability in the area? Are you still concerned?
Yes, I was referring to the spirits with being 20 cl or lower. But to pick up on that point, the concern that we have around the cans being sold even in packs of 4 at high strength is that we do frequently see groups numbering up to a dozen of street homeless coming together. So getting the money together for a 4-pack still wouldn't prevent that problem. And each one is on its merits. So I think it's very difficult for us to compare or refer to other licensed premises, firstly in their absence, but I'm keen to highlight the concerns I've got with regards to Eats and Drinks and their staff selling high-strength alcohol.
Okay, thank you. So I think that will be a good point for parties to sum up their case. I normally say we start here, work across, and go back. So as you're on a roll, Sergeant, if you'd like to sum up your case, and then we'll go to the other side.
Thank you. I don't wish to take up any more of your time. Essentially, Dorset Police are keen to promote responsible alcohol provision. We have demonstrated, I believe, over the past 12 months, the value of the review process in achieving outcomes that are to the benefit of the community. We shouldn't wish to undermine, as a collective, the efforts of the previous subcommittee. And you will note that the comments from the local sergeant is testament to the improvement that's being experienced in that area since these changes. The guidance, as has been referred to, I think, already, reflects that the police are the experts in crime and disorder. We are there, and we will only take action where it's proportionate and necessary to do so. And as a final reminder, matters of a fiscal nature are not a concern to members, albeit that I am somewhat, and perhaps it can be addressed in the summing up, but there was mention also of alcohol being only a small part of the Eats and Drinks business, but clearly something that's having a significant impact, although I accept it's a wider offering that supports people that are maybe getting their groceries. But yeah, I'll leave that for others to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll ask you to sum up your position as well, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just to quickly sum up, Chair, we understand the application, all the application considers on its own merit, and I do respect the license was reviewed last year. I'm not going to go into the review details, but I just wanted to say the reason, I know the police mentioned in their statement that we didn't appeal for the decision. The main reason, my client, that is the nature, the reason they didn't appeal because they don't want to go against the decision made by the authorities. That is the nature of the business. That's the nature of the individuals. They took everything on board, even though they were not happy with the decision, but they listened to everything. They made all the changes. Chair, I just want to point out, before the review, the license didn't have a single condition. But after the review, we had almost 20 conditions on it straight away overnight. And my client implemented every single one of them. And we complied every single one of them. And I also respect the concerns raised by the police officer. This variation is too soon. Chair, from my client, when a local business is facing a serious trouble, they had to go to the authorities for help. That is the first thing they should do before they make a serious decision about their business. 12 months along the line, there won't be any eats and drinks anymore. That is the situation they are in now. I'm not exaggerating. So after 12 months, we might not be there. That's a serious decision they are making. This application is not a cheap process for them. So 2 months or 3 months, because they are struggling, it's the last plea. That is why they came to you. And they came to you with the right reasons. They came to you and demonstrate themselves as a premises which comply with the licensing legislation. They promote the licensing objectives. Everything is recorded. I'm pleased to see police were happy with our refusals. We don't serve any vulnerable people, full stop. That is the main policy the premises follows at the moment. Whether 4 cans or even if the application goes through successfully, we're still not going to sell vulnerable people. We can't take this as a condition if the committee decided, because we don't do that. We never did that. So that is what my clients wanted to send to you. And if a license is being reviewed, it doesn't mean the premises is permanently labeled with something. Chair, you can see the evidence provided in front of you, how the management, how the business is operating at the moment. And in this situation, they are asking a help from the local council. There is no evidence provided against this application to show that this proposal will undermine the licensing objective, Chair. I know this is a sensitive area between the train station and the seafront, but there are 3 licensed venues in that whole stretch. And we have much more stricter conditions at the moment. So I just want to consider this, Chair. And also, I just want to stress, we are not undermining the decisions made by the last committee. We are not. If we are undermining the decision made by the last committee, we would have come and asked you, Chair, please remove those conditions. We didn't do that today. We don't want to remove those conditions. We don't want to undermine any decision. We just wanted to make a small change to those 2 conditions. At the same time, we want to promote the licensing objective while we keeping the business. So we're trying to strike a responsible balance on both sides. That is what we are doing, and we are not irresponsibly asking you to remove those conditions. I just stressing you to consider that, Chair. And changing making these 2 modifications, Chair, we are not going to revert back everything prior to 2023. We still have almost 20 conditions on our license, and we still have these 2 amended conditions on our license. So what we are asking is a small modification to a couple of conditions without undermining the licensing objectives. And just to keep the business going, which is a 25-year-old, it's a long business, but this family running this business at this location, 25 years, Chair, which is a very long period. So the council need to consider that to support this local business. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Before we come to the conclusion of this section, I just want to double check with the officers or legal representate that word of the council, if there's any points they'd like to clarify or mention to committee, or have we covered it all?
Just want to reiterate really one thing that the Sergeant Golding said is that members need to take into account the 4 licensing objectives, and none of it can be down to any fiscal issues with regard to finances.
Thank you for that. So in that case, I'm going to conclude this section of the meeting by thanking you for coming this morning. We will retire in due course to discuss the case and make our decision. We'll inform you that decision within 5 business days in writing. And I'm just going to look around as I say the second bit in case I get the times or locations wrong. But if you're not happy with our findings, you do have the right to appeal to Weymouth Magistrates Court within 21 days. 21 days. But details will be in the letter. Okay. We're going to move straight on to the next agenda item, but before we do, maybe allow 30 seconds or so just for you to leave. Pleasure to meet you, but you can go now, and then we can continue. Thank you very much. After a short adjournment, we are back to continue the meeting. So we're going to move to item 4, application to review the premises licence for Clock House, Sturminster, Newton. This application, or the applicants, the licence holder of the Clock House currently isn't in attendance. So in light of that, it's for myself, my colleagues to make a decision on whether we adjourn this matter today and give the licence holder the appropriate opportunities to be here in person, or whether we continue in their absence, having been satisfied that all attempts have been made to inform them of today's meeting. So we don't have the answers to those questions, but there's 2 groups in the room that do. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to our licensing officer and then ask you if you can give us a rundown of steps that have been taken to inform the licence holder. And I shall also do the same of Dorset Police. And just to clarify a procedural thing, as technically the applicant for this variation is the police, normally you'd sit the other side of the room, but in the interests of being unnecessary, we're going to say stay in your same seat and we'll just carry on from there. So over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we had a review for the Clock House kebab shop from Dorset Police on behalf of immigration. Dorset Police served the application, as you would do, at the premises through the letterbox by Sergeant Gosling on the 3rd of December. An email was sent from an email address we had on our system for the licence holder asking if it was the correct email to correspond with. We received no email and there was no bounce back email. Another email was sent on the 2nd of January inviting Mr. Gilgill to the hearing, and also this was asking if it was a correct email to correspond. A letter was sent in the post to the last known address we had, which is the premises itself, asking if it was a correct one to correspond with. We've had nothing. So the email was sent on the 2nd, inviting him to the hearing, and also a letter sent first class to the address we had for him. There was also an agenda was emailed on the 13th of January and a hard copy put in the first class post. I've gone back through some old paperwork we had and I located a phone number for the licence holder. Again, I have rung that twice last week and have left 2 voicemails asking him to call our number, and I have had nothing back.
Just to clarify one point, I'm fairly confident I know the answer to the question, but I'll ask it for the benefit of those watching from home. Mail by first class delivery is, for legal process, acceptable?
Yes, it is, yes.
Thank you. Sergeant, would you like to elaborate on any steps you've taken to locate the licence holder, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I won't repeat what it is that Catherine has done, but essentially from our perspective, upon serving the papers, the original review papers on the day in which we submitted to the council, I submitted that by hand, myself personally, to the Clock House premises, and also assisted with regards to the blue notices that have been put up at the premises. Now, on re-attending the premises the week before last, I noted that firstly, the application was no longer on the doorstep. You're able to look through the glass door and see which mail's gone, but also that the blue notices that had been put up had been moved, and that one, in fact, had been put on the inside of the premises rather than being taped up outside. So it was quite clear that only people with access to the premises could, in fact, do that. So that I've been there twice now to serve 2 different papers, both of which have contained our details to be able to contact us by email to perhaps mediate, as we would in situations such as this, but much as the same as the licensing authority. Unfortunately, we've received no response.
Any questions from any colleagues at all? Go on, Val.
Can you confirm that on at least one of your 2 visits, you actually visited during their published opening hours?
Yes, it appears to be a premises that is open more into the evening, and I visited during the day. There was a couple of items of mail which you'd expect to be a sort of daily delivery, if you like, on the doorstep for the first time, and on the second time there was no mail when I delivered the second item. So whilst it wasn't during their opening hours, I'm confident that they received the papers, especially given the fact that the blue notice was on the inside of the window.
So that implies the premises are still trading then?
Thank you for that question. I have spoken to other businesses in the area, and they've assured me that the business is continuing to trade. Is, yes.
If there's no other questions from colleagues or officers,
Authorities went to visit.
that might be a question that's... Sure. I'll hand to officers.
Sorry, just really for clarity of both Ms Miller and Sergeant Gosling, you may think you've already answered that, but just so it can be specific, can you just confirm that the addresses that you've used are the only addresses and the last known addresses that you've got for the licence holder? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, we're using the address that we had when the licence holder applied for the licence at the time, and it's no one has notified us any other address, and it is the address of the premises.
And likewise, the correspondence that I've been delivering has been directly to the Clock House, which is the licensed premises, through a letterbox that it conceivably can be nobody else's. The mail goes into the doormat of the premises that you can see through the glass window.
Thank you for that. In light of that information from both parties, I propose in the interest of fairness that we take a brief adjournment, just so I can discuss with colleagues whether we continue this part of the meeting in the absence of the licence holder from Clock House, or we decide to adjourn to give them more opportunity to be here. But if parties are happy, I think just a very short adjournment, just so we can be 100% satisfied, and then we'll come back. Welcome back, those online and in the room. So we are now on item 4, application to review the premises licence for Clock House, Minster Newton. The licence holder and any representatives are not present with us this morning. However, the applicant for the variation, Dorset Police, are, along with officers. Due to the licence holder not being here, we did shortly adjourn to discuss if we were happy to continue in their absence. And both myself and colleagues are happy to continue in their absence. Full explanation of that decision will be in the relevant documents afterwards, but to essentially summarise, we're happy to continue because we feel that the licence holder has been properly and adequately served the notices required. All available contact methods have been exhausted by both officers and Dorset Police, and the additional information provided by Dorset Police have satisfied us on balance that the licence holder has received those notices by virtue of the fact that mail has been removed and notices have been repositioned. Whilst we have given consideration that we don't know that the licence holder has done that himself or herself, we are satisfied that as the licence holder, they are ultimately responsible for the property, licence and the premises. So on the basis of the information that we've been provided both by officers and Dorset police officers, we will continue on that basis. If anybody from Dorset Council would like to add anything to that, otherwise I think, hopefully I've done a decent enough job of summarising our position. Quite impressed that I've been able to do that. So in which case, we shall, they'll have me back. In which case, we will move to the officer, I think, first of all, to present the case.
Thank you, Chair. This is a hearing to consider a review application for Clock House Kebab, Sturminster Newton, brought by Dorset Police. The review has been made under the licence and objective of the prevention of crime and disorder on the grounds that there is evidence that the premises are associated with employing illegal workers contrary to immigration legislation. This was following an enforcement visit made by immigration officers on the 16th of October 2024. In consultation with partners from His Majesty's Immigration, Compliance and Enforcement Team, Dorset Police no longer have confidence in the designated premises supervisor or the licence holder to uphold the licence objectives. The application can be found at Appendix 1. The application was also supported by a statement from the immigration officer who attended the premises on the above date. However, as this statement contains sensitive information, it cannot be shared in the public domain, but I can confirm that members and the police have received a copy. The applicant has not, due to the fact we have not been able to confirm an address or email for the licence holder. There has been no contact from the licence holder, Mr. Gilgill, following the review application. The review application was put through the letterbox on the 3rd of December by Sergeant Gosling, and notice were also put up at the same time. The current licence allows for late night refreshment indoors only for Sunday to Thursday, 2300 hours to midnight, and Friday to Saturday, 2300 hours to 0100 hours. A copy of the licence can be found at Appendix 2. A representation in support of the review has been received from the Home Office Immigration Enforcement. However, their comments again contain sensitive information and cannot be published in the public domain. Members have received a copy of this statement together with Dorset Police. And again, due to the sensitive nature of this document, the licence holder has not had a copy of this. There were no other representations received from any of the responsible authorities. Where the licensing authority considers that action under this statutory powers is appropriate, it may take the following steps. Modify the conditions of the premises, which includes adding new conditions or any alteration or omission of an existing condition, for example, by reducing the hours of opening or requiring door supervisors. Exclude a licensable activity from the scope of the licence. Remove the designated premises supervisor, for example, because they consider the problems. However, this premises does not have an alcohol licence, so that would not be appropriate. Suspend the licence for a period of not exceeding 3 months or revoke the licence. Dorset Police are here today and will be able to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Just before we move to Dorset Police officers, any questions from colleagues of the officer?
Not at this moment.
Thank you. In which case, Sergeant, would you like to present your case, please?
Yes, of course, thank you. If it's agreeable, I had prepared an initial submission and somewhat of a summing up. But if you're content, I will go from one to the other and you can ask questions about any of it. Yep. Okay, so I'll try and be brief. You've received the documentary evidence that's been submitted in advance. That, as Catherine has already alluded to, has included the evidence that has been submitted by the immigration officers. No mediation and no response has been taken despite our efforts. What I'd like you to appreciate is that we work in partnership with a variety of different authorities. So it may well be queried as to why the immigration team are not here. We see ourselves, if you like, as the lead when it comes to anything to do with crime and disorder, and we support our colleagues in other agencies that might be less familiar with, for example, committee hearings such as this. So we work with them so that they continue to deliver the work that they do. We assist them by doing this type of, taking on this type of responsibility. We have had various other incidents involving immigration offences in the past, but I really want you to draw your attention to the fact that for this particular premises, there were 3 members of staff associated to the premises, one of which was working in a managerial role. That is a complete flagrant disregard. That cannot be a mistake. Okay, that is an organisation that is routinely and has no regard for the requirements to do right-to-work checks and are working completely contrary to immigration law. When it comes to your decision today, it won't be about closing down that premises. You've heard from Catherine already that this licence is for late night refreshment. So that is, in common terms, that is with regards to hot food and hot drink, and it only applies between that 11 o'clock till midnight for 5 days of the week and 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning for the weekend hours, which we know are more popular. But that is a licensable activity. That's an activity they need a license and that they have a privilege to hold and to be able to deliver that activity that is recognised by the government, by the Home Office, as being a higher risk. It's a privilege to be able to do those activities, and it's not right that licensed premises in the Dorset Council area should be allowed to continue to hold that privilege of a premises licence, regardless of how small that provision is, whilst they are complicit with this type of illegal activity. And that, yep, so I've just covered off that point. That's largely what I would have submitted in my my original submission, based upon the fact that there's been no conferring or to and fro-in from the licence holder, no sort of mediation or anything like that. So I'll move now to the summing up aspect, in that the Section 182 guidance is crystal clear on this. To support you, I've highlighted the relevant parts of the 182 guidance that specifically mentions immigration as an area for specific concern when it is associated to licensed premises. The Home Office expect that revocation, even in the first instance, may be appropriate. And I believe that if you were to revoke this premises licence, that sends a clear message to the community of Sturminster Newton that you are committed to removing any aspect of criminality from their town, but also it sends a message out to the wider council area that you will not tolerate this type of activity associated to licensed premises. What we're asking licensed premises to do on a more general basis is to highlight the need to complete right-to-work checks, to make sure that they are responsible, because there is no excuse or defence for being ignorant of the law. Those laws are there to protect not only the communities, but actually the people that are employed, is to make sure that people are being looked after correctly, that are being paid appropriately, to make sure that there is no modern day slavery associated to that. So whilst this wouldn't necessarily, any action that you took, even with regards to a revocation, would still permit that premises to open without a licence until 11 o'clock at night. They can still do that. And that will be then authorities outside of yourselves that will have to manage that, including the immigration team that no doubt will need to do repeat visits. And no doubt there will be police that will need to support that as well. But you can be certain that if you were to revoke this licence, okay, you are sending a clear message out there that this is unacceptable behaviour to be associated with a licensed premises. And that if they need to apply for a licence in the future, if either the business gets sold or the current licence holder wishes to reapply for a licence, then there is the opportunity for them to do exactly that, to reapply for another licence. And there is no doubt that we would have some questions for them. And if we're not satisfied with the responses, then it may be that they come before you to reassure you that behaviour or that activity is behind them. So I'll stop it there. I think that I would invite you to revisit what it is that we've provided in our written submission, because I think that covers everything that I've discussed as well today. But of course, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
You get used to it eventually. Thank you very much, Sergeant. Any questions or points of clarity from our officers?
No, thank you, Chair. No, thank.
Any questions from colleagues?
No.
None? I have no
No,
questions
I think,
myself.
the officers made it quite clear.
In which case, in the absence of the licence holder, I will, just in case maybe they're watching at home, just point out that we will shortly adjourn and look at this case and the reports and make a decision. That will be served on the licence holder within 5 business days, and they have the right to appeal to Weymouth magistrates. Or Paul? Weymouth or Paul? It'll be in the notice within 21 days. Do you want to clarify the magistrate?
I'm not sure, Chair, but we'll work it out and make sure the decision notice is correct.
Yeah, thank you. So in that case, I think that deals with that item of the agenda. I'd like to thank the officers for attending. And you can stay for the final bits if you wish, but I suspect you'd probably want to leave. But we'll obviously we'll write to you in due course as well with our findings on both the applications from today. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm being waved up by the officer before I go to the last items.
My team leader, who is watching this, was 5 seconds behind, says it's Weymouth.
Thank you, team leader. I thought it was Weymouth. Perfect. Thank you very much for coming along. So we have 2 more items on the agenda. Item 6, any urgent items? No urgent items? Nothing that's urgent. And item 7, any exempt business? We have no exempt business. In which case, I think I'm safe to conclude this meeting. Thank you to those who attended, and thank you to those who watched from home. Have a good day.